Genuine. Okay, cool.
I love that.
This is a podcast, guys. I'm about this. So Dave. Get into that. You're like, who the hell is this guy? Why
Sure. I accidentally slipped in. I was CEO of the world's first smartphone for Samsung and Windows, and then slipped into, from there, the world's most notable sports agency, Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment. Most people know Leigh from the movie Jerry Maguire.
Right.
That's where I met Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback, and we transitioned to marketing and media instead of just the legal work of representing athletes, celebrities, entertainers. So for the last 11 years, had a notable sports and marketing agency. Last 3.5 years, I've taken all the lessons from being a sports agent, a marketer, an advertiser, an endorser, a brander, and put it towards my own brand after I met a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, who you both
Shout
know.
out Gary.
Yeah.
I know he's gonna listen.
So
Shout out.
Gary, I was blessed. He was starting a sports agency with his brother AJ. I was probably one of the more experienced people in sports agentry. I offered my help to him. He offered his help to me. Little did he know he had a much more difficult job than I do to teach me how to brand myself. But for the last 3.5 years, I've taken all the books, the speaking, and created TV shows, podcasts, a lot of content, Gary Vee style content, and with one mission, to empower over 1 billion people in the world to be happy. I think happiness will cure all.
So this is something that I love about people like you and like Gary, and just people who I think have achieved this level of success, is there is such an importance and focus on giving back. That's something that if you know Gary, that's something he talks about all the time in his content, and you seem to be really focused on that. And if we just go right back to that sports agency that you started, I read online that you were actually not just focused on trying to get deals for your clients and make this sort of standard commission, but you were trying to empower your clients to try to get, significant brand deals, get into like the equity game, really make sure that they stay rich well beyond their years of being an athlete. And that's probably what set you apart a little bit, I think.
Yeah, we were blessed, and also that they had to find a purpose or a cause. So I think
that's my favorite part.
the difference.
You won't work with anyone unless there's a charity component involved, and I love that because I just feel like it vets whoever you are working with. You guys are kind of on the same page.
Yeah, and it protects us as well, especially in a hyper-competitive, scarce world of agentry and marketing where everyone's trying to steal your client. I always joke around, if you want a piece of advice, so many kids want to be sports agents and like, should I go to law school? Should I do? I said, look, only 2 things you need to know about being a sports agent. You got to get a client and keep one.
Right.
And keeping one's a lot harder because everyone, it's like a beautiful girl. They all try to steal them from you. So you got to have a great skill set to do that. And the interesting thing I want to note right now as the biggest lesson, we talk about giving to receive. The greatest lesson that I've learned, and we'll probably talk more about my journey and the ups and downs of that journey, but I actually shifted my paradigm. I don't give to receive. I do give back, but I shifted my paradigm. I receive so I can give. And I have pure intentions. I don't do business with anyone that won't have the same similar beliefs of having a purpose or a cause to what they do to help others. But I have learned that can't give what you don't have. And when I focused on giving to receive, it was more a trade and negotiation, a more ego-based thing. But when I focused on simply, I live in an abundant world, I'm going to receive as much as I can, teach other people to receive as much as I can, as long as it goes through them for others. So I really encourage and empower people to receive so they can give, not give to receive.
And it's such a ripple effect what you're doing too, because everybody that you're helping, they're then going out and helping others, and it just continues and continues on. And I love that so much.
You know she raves about you, right?
I know. When I see her, I blush because I'm like, I saw her from across the studio, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Jamie's. I didn't realize, because I thought I saw Nema's name. I didn't realize Jamie was here. I was like, oh my God, this is so great.
Yeah. Well, besides Jamie Lynn, one of the other connections we have is your cousin Jacqueline is a friend of mine.
Yes.
And I talked to her on the way down here. She was talking about some of the core values that you sort of encompass in terms of gratitude and sort of the over-effective communication, things like that. Empathy, I can't even tell you how much empathy has changed my life and the way that I approach people and situations. It's removed, I think we're all human, but it's removed a lot of the judgment that I dealt with before. I used to go into situations and judge them directly. Now, the amount of power that you gain yourself when you approach a situation from like an empathy and just like seeing what the other person's going through. So has that always been something that you just like how does someone learn to ingrain that into their lives?
So anything that we learn, including empathy, which I tend to lean towards the side of forgiveness with empathy.
Right.
A lot of people will lean to sympathy, but I'm a firm believer that I can't be sad enough to make you happy. I can't be poor enough to make you rich or sick enough to make you well.
Sympathy makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It actually makes me uncomfortable.
It should also take power away from the other person. If you're not feeling well, for whatever reason, does it make you feel good when someone's like, I'm so sorry? That doesn't make you feel well.
And it's also, I love that you're saying this, because when people express those things to me, it feels very disingenuous to have that response. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's like, it's forced. I've always really struggled with sympathy versus empathy.
Yeah, and empathy will tie closer to gratitude in the respect that it's empowering to find the light, the love, and the lessons and everything. One of the key lessons I learned that's really simple, I was the king, very time conscious. So if I ever was late, even a few minutes, I would come in and say, I am so sorry, I hate being late. How many times have you heard that?
Oh, yeah.
I shifted that to, thank you so much for your patience.
Right.
It makes people feel, it's a different energy. Think about, when I want to go back and listen to that, the difference between I'm sorry, I'm never late, I'm so sorry for being late, to thank you so much for your patience. Let's get started. It's a different feeling.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I used to be, when I started my first company, I was so afraid of like my clients and wanted to make sure they were happy that I was the king of exclamation points. And everything was like, hi, exclamation mark, how are you? Exclamation, thank you so much. And I realized that I had a really hard time establishing those boundaries, because I saw boundaries as being aggressive towards my client. Like I was basically a yes man. But I realized that if you shift the way you say it, and you lead with gratitude and maybe some empathy for your clients, you don't have to be as sympathetic or as ass-kissy as some people are. And it's really, I felt and recognized an immediate shift in the way my clients respected me and the way they reacted towards me. So I love all of this. And I love your message. I love everything you come to the table. Before we get into like the real scope of this, can we talk a couple Davisms right now? I've got a couple of them.
Uh-oh.
Some of them are from
Jacqueline.
Some from Jacqueline, some from podcasts. So number one, I love this about you, and anyone I know who's on your level is incredibly regimented. And the reason I'm sharing this is not to stroke Dave's ego, is to talk to the person who's listening to this podcast right now. It is so important that you regiment your day, because it really creates this like unbelievable structure where your efficiency will go through the roof. And I heard you get up at like 4:45 in the morning?
No, 4.
4 a.m. every morning.
Yeah, but my tomorrow starts today. I think the key to waking up at 4 o'clock that most people don't realize is that I have an unwind routine that starts at 9 p.m. So I'm very disciplined and regimented about winding down. If you, coming from an athletic background, nobody ever would play a game without warming up. It's amazing that you think you go to sleep without warming down. Right? If we want to maximize the opportunity to connect to the greatest source of light, love, and lessons with no ego involved, no adrenaline, chemicals, negative thoughts, if we want to purely receive all night long, to purely allow the continuum from our unconscious to our subconscious to our conscious mind to wake up tomorrow at our highest frequency, to plateau and grow. Most people's problem that don't have an unwinding routine to start is that they live the myth of Sisyphus. They spend the whole day, if you're out there and this resonates with you, listen, do you push the boulder all the way up the hill all day long and wake up tomorrow morning and it's at the bottom of the hill just to push the same boulder to the same? Then you're not doing things right. So start your regimen the night before. Your tomorrow starts today by an unwinding routine with no negative energy, no caffeine, alcohol, drugs, things that are gonna get and interfere with you and the greatest source of light, lessons and love that allow you to plateau and grow every morning.
Can you tell me, besides, you just kind of hit on it a little bit, no caffeine, no alcohol, no negative energy, are there any other things that one can do, someone who's listening to this can just like immediately implement into their wind? Because I don't wind down.
Yeah.
Hearing you say this, I was like, shit.
I didn't either when I was your age. I was winding up with all the bad things. If you know my story.
So what are like a couple of just really quick like winding down things people can do?
So I started after law school learning this. Don't study in bed, right? Don't do anything that creates interference with anything you're doing. Don't get into arguments. Don't get into intense conversation. Don't watch the news, especially now.
So don't work from bed. Don't put
No.
your laptop on your bed. Oh, I think that's
Yeah, don't. It literally, what you want that bed to be is for peace and also fun.
Right.
I'm old but not dead. And so, but no, literally, that's my sanctuary. And I have it dark, I have it cold. I put a timer if you want to use a TV to turn off and you have nonsense TV on, something positive and stupid. And also part of unwinding is to use all your energy during the day.
Yeah.
So that allows me at 4 a.m. to wake up, 20 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes to get ready, a minimum of an hour a day on exercise. I do research 2 sessions twice a day because I believe the mathematical equation of luck is what you pay attention to and give your intention to, what you think, say, do, believe, all that law of Goya getting off your ass, equals what? Coincidences. When you see people that have a stroke of luck everywhere they go, the coincidences just keep occurring. I met this guy and you wouldn't believe it. Next thing I know, I'm a millionaire. He funded I just met him at the gym. That's because of attention plus intention. So if you don't have research time, study time during the day, and I study my calendar, and what do you study with? That's important. In the context of regimen, a lens of productivity. I'm always of service and of value. So I'm studying what I'm gonna do with a lens of how productive am I, and then secondly, accessibility, which is a bifocal lens. How accessible am I to everybody? That's why I have a 5-20 rule, 5-minute phone calls, 20-minute meetings, 20-minute interviews, whatever it is. But also, how am I accessing what I want? How am I receiving? Allowing us to do the most difficult thing, which is to be radically humble with gratitude, empathy, and accountability, to be radical humble and ask people, hey, do you know anyone that can help me? Finding people that can help you, and then finally, gratitude. The king of all, light, love, and lessons and everything. I'm a master muscle of you can give me any shitty situation, I'll find the light, love, and lessons. Everybody's life sucks the exact same percentage. The people that find the light, the love, and the lessons through gratitude are gonna exceed everyone's expectations of what they can have with the mathematical equation of luck.
We are gonna test that theory today because and this is where we go back to the value being on the listener for this episode. Dave has immense value on his own. That's self-explanatory. Before I just jump into that really quickly, meditate in the morning. And then the other thing that Dave does, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I love, because when I heard it on one of your shows, was you spend 1 hour with your family every morning.
Yeah, it's even funnier, right? Yeah. I spend a minimum of 30 with my wife, minimum of 30 with my 10-year-old son, minimum of 2 minutes a day with each of my teenage daughters, 3 of them, and a minimum of 1 minute a day with my mom. Minimum. Every day, 7 days a week. 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday with everything you're gonna do.
And you have a very, very special bond with your mother.
Yeah.
Like, it was told to me by Jacqueline that your mother really helped shape your persona and who you are. Did she sort of encourage you at all times when you were sort of coming up and when you were sort of leaving law school? Like, how was that? I mean, a lot of this comes with maternal love. And a lot of moms would have a hard time with you walking away from a law school career.
Oh, she did too.
Yeah.
Just because someone loves you doesn't mean they give you good advice. My mom actually told me the internet was a fad and that I should be the real lawyer. But lesson from my mom is you don't listen to your parents, you watch them. So my mom raised 6 kids, sacrificed, I always said she invested in us. I hate the word sacrifice.
Right.
My mom invested everything into her children, 6 kids, all of them Ivy League, summa cum laude, really kind people, and have proved it today with, 16 grandkids or whatever she has.
Yeah.
But moreover, she worked 2 jobs, never complained, packed our dinner in a paper bag. I choke up, I can barely talk about it.
Yeah.
But she showed unconditional love. And so for me, my whole life was to prove to her that I could help her, because nobody did, right?
Jacqueline told me, she's like, you bring up the mom, be careful, he's gonna choke up.
Yeah.
I was like, really? She's like, he's gonna choke up.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to make it, but
No.
it is really inspiring to see you talk about your mother this way. The love that pours out of you, like it's getting me a little emotional. So I think she's obviously very proud of her son,
Yeah, well, I love her. It's amazing though, because I get thousands of interviews, as Jamie Lynn knows, and that's how much I am just so grateful. Like my mom's the kind of mom, you come down with the wrong attitude, go back upstairs.
Yeah.
I'm not allowing it. She would tell me, you're living below the line, blame, shame, justification. Don't count other people's money. Like all these little things that I didn't listen to. Like I said, kids don't listen to their parents, but you plant seeds under trees that someday you hope you'll sit under, or at least they will. And that's where I came up with the idea that I can empower over 1 billion people, that I can plant these seeds. I talk to a lot of kids that I know don't understand what I talk about, but I'm planting a seed. My own children come home from college and they'll say stuff, Dad, you're not gonna believe what I learned. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I'm like, I've been saying that for 10 years. Like,
and Dad, it's not cool.
Exactly, but I planted that seed. And I love it when other people are watering the seeds that I know I planted.
I love that. I can already love you, dude. I just met you. Last fun fact about Dave, then we got to get into these questions here. Dave hates vegan diets, according to
No, Miles, my 10-year-old, hates them.
Yeah.
I hate nothing. I'll eat anything.
Yeah, Jacqueline was like, he used to make fun of me when I used to cook vegan food, because Jacqueline, your cousin, is very, very vocal about being vegan.
Yeah. And
Aren't
she.
you vegan too?
All right, see you later, Dave.
No, I don't hate vegan, but my 10-year-old, I came back from vacation because Jacqueline took care of my 10-year-old, and he's like, she tricked me. And he's like, I don't like vegan. I'll eat anything.
So my sister is a big vegan influencer.
Yeah.
And she became vegan because about 4 years ago, just the stress of work, I developed a heart arrhythmia out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
Idiopathic, it's under control now. And I had a cardiologist in Encino, California, Dr. Yuri Benzer, who is an angel on this earth, who was like, I think you should go vegan. We in the cardiology community think it helps. I was like, I love sushi, I love Persian food, this is never happening.
Yeah.
My sister was like, I'll do it to support you. She stuck with it, I didn't. Because I love food too much, So now she's created this entire career. Shout out to Mona.
Yeah, I think it's more Jacqueline teases me because I'm an omnivore. She'll look at me like, are you eat that? But in all fairness, you know what Jacqueline does, though, people out there, I know we're not going to be under time. She pours so much sauce on everything she eats. Of course it tastes good. Like, that's the Louisiana thing, right? Put hot sauce on an alligator. Yeah, of course alligator tastes good with hot sauce.
She had that page, Plan Appetit, for a while.
Yeah.
She would make these really incredible vegan dishes and would share them. And I gotta say, it looked really good.
She was a really good cook.
Let me ask you, so
Yeah.
you're kind of against energy drinks and caffeine because
I'm not against them at all.
Oh, you're not?
Oh, no, I just don't do it for
yourself.
me, yeah. So my philosophy always is, literally, if it's good for you and it doesn't hurt someone else, I think it's more important for whoever you are, whatever is right for you is way more important. People will die of stress before they'll die of drinking caffeine. And literally, as long as you don't hurt anyone else, and I feel the same way about religions. Like, we try to separate each other in so many different ways, vegan, non-vegan, whatever. My thing is, hey, what can I do to make your life better? If it makes you happy, because happiness is the thing that strengthens your mental, physical, spiritual, financial being. Happiness is the thing that strengthens your immune system. So if eating vegan makes you happy, or drinking caffeine makes you happy, then I'm all for it. It's the problem if someone said, oh, cut off Nema's arm, then I got a problem with his arm. It's gonna hurt him.
Have you tried being vegan or
Oh,
would
yeah.
you be open to it?
Yeah, I'm open to it. And I go through periods where I try certain things just to see. My thing is convenience because I'm a time freak. I value, so I think everyone should take inventory of their values, personal, experiential, giving, and receiving. I value my efficiency and effectiveness. So obviously it takes more time to be vegan. And for my lifestyle, when you travel 200 days a year.
Excited 'cause she's now an investor in Sugar Taco, and she wants that plug right now.
Yeah, Sugar Taco, eat there.
Vegan Mexican food.
I will tell you, I will give an endorsement for vegan. When Jacqueline, lived with me and I ate much more vegan, felt way better.
Yeah.
Way better.
I don't know if you've read this, but I've read that it raises your vibration, and you're kind of all about that too.
Oh, yeah.
Gratitude and honesty, and that raises the vibration. So I'm just wondering,
I think
where your
that
diet
the
fits
certain
in.
foods lower your vibration, so it actually is clearing the interference from the highest vibration that we are. That's my feeling of it. But yes, I'm pro-vegan and sugar. What's the name of our new?
Vegans, don't come for us on this.
Yeah, exactly.
We love everyone.
But I'm gonna eat a steak,
Okay.
just
so
not as often as I used to.
It's rare that we get someone who has such insight into life and what really matters like yourself. So we want to shift the focus of this to the person who is listening now, because you hit really the nail on the head about 5 minutes ago. You said everyone kind of goes through the same shit. It's just your outlook that determines how you react to that. And I'm someone that's struggled with bouts of not depression, but sometimes I'll let situations get the best of me. I gave myself a heart arrhythmia because I was stressed out from producing commercials for years and years and years. So we want to, if you're listening to this and life isn't perfect for you, it's not perfect for anybody. We want to help you. That's the purpose of this podcast.
Awesome.
So we're going to go through a series of things that are just going to spout off to you, and we want the Dave Meltzer like words of wisdom to someone who's listening. And we're going to start very general and we're going to get really specific. So we're going to start.
And you guys are welcome to cut me off because I want to get as many questions in as I can. So
Yeah.
if you feel I'm already answered it, just say next. We're going to go, I want as many questions as I can.
Cool. So we're going to start with just a general idea of unhappiness. Someone who just generally doesn't know why they're unhappy. What would be your thoughts to that person?
3 reasons why you're unhappy. 1 is the conscious things that you're doing. 2 is the subconscious, 40,000 of the same thoughts that you have that have been inputted from the daily activities that you have. So you've totally socialized them into you. And then finally, the most confusing, you have a quantum memory and unconscious competency. You have DNA that medically they've proven 4 generations have programmed that. So great grandparents, grandparents, parents to you. I believe in past lives. So I think it's billions of lives that have inputted. So to raise your awareness of what your potential of happiness during this lifetime is extremely important. You cannot take someone that's ingrained in alcoholic and say, it takes 21 days to form a habit, stop drinking for 21 days and you're never gonna be an alcoholic again. The same thing with happiness. So I think it's really important to take a self-evaluation, consciously, subconsciously, and unconsciously, of what level you are at today, where you think your potential is, by at least looking generationally. If I had a really happy, optimistic mom and maybe a suicidal father, these are real things to look at. And so everyone has their own potential. And the key is, can I teach you to enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent without quit pursuit of your own potential of happiness, not yours, but simply my own.
I'm going to jump in on this because I want to get more specific on this. So if I'm that person who's listening to this, can relate to that. Generally unhappy, there's a historical DNA thing going on. Is there 1 or 2 individual real-time actions starting today that I could do that might shift me down the right road?
2 things. 1, lower the bar. So whatever positive activity you want to do, 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday. So 2 minutes of meditation, 2 minutes of something, but lower the bar so you can do it the rest of your life, because we want to change that continuum to reactivate what's inside of your DNA, what's inside of your quantum memory. The second one is proven and given. Go do good deed. Pick up a piece of trash, return a cart to the grocery store, smile at someone, help someone across the street, open a door and hold it open. The truth vibrates the fastest, as Jamie Lynn was suggesting earlier. You watch. I'm not a professional. Always, if you're depressed, seek a professional. But I will tell you this professionally, you cannot feel bad when you're doing good.
I so agree with this. Like anytime I've ever done anything good for someone, it is the best feeling I have ever felt. And I'm talking like a little bit, like buying someone a cup of coffee or something is just, you feel so on high when you do that. Now, as far as general unhappiness, could that be the same approach to like something as like generalized anxiety? Again, you don't really know why, or is that a separate?
So the interesting thing about anxiety, worry, resentment, offense, separation feeling, inferiority, superiority, need to be right, these different needs are needs of the ego. And so one of the things that I help people with is 4 steps to be a ferocious Buddha. And those 4 steps will allow you in a practice, just like I'm in a practice, of ending fear. There's primary fears that are based off of the ego that, you know, Freud talks about: flight, fear, food, and the other F word. And then there's secondary fears, the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, guilty, all those. What we want to do is, number 1, practice identifying them. That's the first step.
Yeah,
you can't fit.
Self-awareness is so important.
And it's but I'm going to say this 6 times. Practice, 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 practice. It's a practice. I'm in the practice. The difference is it doesn't take me months, weeks, days, hours, or minutes anymore. It's usually moments to identify it. Then don't do anything but stop. Don't resist it. What you resist persists. Don't fight it. Just stop for a minute. And that's the ferocious part. If you've ever been in an argument with your intimate other, I'm married for 23 years. I'm still, take offense to this, but I got an argument with my wife for the first time in years. While I'm yelling, in my head, I'm like, stop, dummy. Oh, you didn't say that. Stop, dumb. You did not just say it. Stop. Walk away. I couldn't, the ferociousness of me was gone. I couldn't stop. But eventually I stopped. Then you be a Buddha. Breathe. In through the nose, past the eyes, out through the mouth to the end of the universe. At least 6 breaths. If 6 doesn't get you back to center, do 12. Keep on breathing. But once you get back to center, to peace, now you can roll in the right trajectory. When you are in ego-based consciousness, this worry, anxiety, you are on fire, mentally, physically, and emotionally. If you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Be a ferocious Buddha. It works, but remember, what I'm talking about is just like golf. It's like going to the range. It's a practice. So if it didn't work the first time, it takes you a long time, that's okay. Keep practicing. I promise you, acceleration, growth, and exponentiality will take place. Compound interest in the positive effect. You will get better and better and better, and pretty soon all your anxiety will dissipate and dissolve, meaning it'll take you less time to feel good. It'll still be there. I still get anxious, worried, angry, frustrated. I'm a human. It just takes me moments to get back to center so everybody thinks I'm at peace.
Well, let's talk about like a more specific example of something that could give you anxiety or like, you know, stress or anything.
Money.
Well, this is actually kind of a segue. So right now the world is in a pandemic. And if someone is listening to this who lost their job during the pandemic, this is not a situation where they can breathe 6 times and they're like, oh, life is okay now. What's your thoughts to that person who's probably feeling pretty terrified?
Yes. You got to focus in on what you have control of. What terrifies us is what we don't know, what we don't understand. I don't like the idea that we're in this great time of uncertainty. I'll tell all your listeners right now, if anybody knows what's going to happen tomorrow for sure, call me. We'll make billions together. I know you don't, so don't worry about it. Every day's uncertain. You're not guaranteed anything. So let's really talk about what you're frightened of, is the accelerated change. For me, my mindset, I have control of. So immediately I say, with great change comes great opportunity. Where other people say with great change, right? So what they see is pain, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial pain, which the pandemic has brought upon at least 1/3 of our whole country, if not the whole world. Right. They immediately say, pain, stop sign, things are going bad. Start focusing, putting attention and intention on what they don't want. More of what they don't want comes and they wonder why they end up in a place they don't want to be. I say pain is not a stop sign, it's a turn signal. It's giving me a lesson. It's indicating, hey, you got a lesson to learn. The lesson's gonna make you better. It's gonna turn you in a better direction, to a better situation, or make your situation better. Even if I lost my job, even if I lost over $100 million, even if I lose a relative, something so significant, pain is an indicator that I have something better. Here's the idea for the pandemic. You have control of your mind, mindset, you have control of your heart set, and you have control of what you think, say, do, and believe. You need to know that and practice that. If you do, you'll realize this. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at the right way at the perfect time. I'm gonna angle always to something better by learning lessons and telling myself that pain is just an indicator. And finally, most importantly, I have faith. I have faith not just in what surrounds me, but what surrounds me, that I'm gonna end up an even a better place that I'm angling towards. If you take that mindset, that heart set, and you think, say, and do things aligned with that, I promise you, you will lose your anxiety, you will take control, and those mathematical equation of luck, the coincidences, will start appearing in your life more and more frequently.
I will tell you that Dave, he glossed over this. For those that don't know his background, when he said you could lose $100 million, he did lose $100 million. Over $100 million. And instead, and we won't get into the specifics, it's online. And instead of allowing that to defeat him, he built it right back up.
Yeah.
So it really is like you've walked the walk on loss and then the recovery from loss. I had Buster on the podcast recently, who says hello to you, by the way. And Buster and I talked about one thing. This isn't related to this is just kind of an ancillary to what you just said, which is that digital media, the advent of social media, the interconnectedness of the world has changed everything now. You can literally exponentially grow a brand, you can literally brand yourself through, look what we're doing right now.
I'm a middle-aged mutant turtle. 3.5 years ago, I was either Leigh Steinberg's guy, Warren Moon's guy, or the guy that had the first smartphone. Nobody actually even knew my name. I had a lot of people smile and wave and say, oh, he's nice.
Right.
But I creatively, literally believe everyone can build a community, and there's nothing more valuable than you can build at your own frequency. This is a really important part because I use this lady as my example. What encouraged me when I built my community, my brand, was the Pimple Popper. You know Dr. Pimple Popper? Yeah. Because I said to myself, this lady knows her frequency. As a traditional marketer, as an advertiser, brander, endorser, I said, this lady knows her frequency. And then I was marketing the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I looked online and said, isn't that incredible? The Pimple Popper lady has more subscribers than every single Hall of Famer combined.
Right.
I said, this is an opportunity. Because if I stick to my specialty, like the Pimple Popper stuck to hers, and I do have a specialty, happiness. If I stick to the things that I've learned, the dummy taxes I've paid, I always joke around. I said, this show today, better than paying your state and your federal taxes, I'm gonna pay your dummy tax, which will far outweigh any amount of money. Then I can have a frequency, and if I stay to it, and this is where Gary really helped me, from day one, he would talk to me at least once a week. Gotta keep posting more. I'm like,
that's
right,
his
gotta
shit,
post
yeah.
more. And like my friends are like, dude, who do you think you are, Tony Robbins? Like, come on, man. Who do you think you are, Jesus Christ? You're gonna save the world and make them happy? Stop posting. You're annoying. Stop it. And I have a rule now, because I totally have bought into what Gary has taught me. If you don't annoy the people who love you and like you already, you haven't even started hitting your minimums.
It's funny, I talked to Gary about this before, where he will say, just put out content. And I've worked really hard to become very self-aware, and I'm like, but I get self-conscious about it. And he just posted a thing on his Instagram yesterday where he went on Instagram Live, and he was like, hey, I hate olives. That was all he went on, and I hate olives too, by the way. And he just went on, and like that was it. And I remember him telling me, like, there's value in that. Someone's gonna see that and like connect with me over that, and he doesn't care who it offends or who it bothers. Like, it's just, there's immense value in putting yourself out there. So if you're listening to this, what Dave is saying is 100% correct, because there's an opportunity for you. I don't know where you live, you could be anywhere in the country, to build your own community. Buster did this with his No Days Off season,
Yep.
which is just anyone can join. You just go online, and it's an accountability system for people working out across the country. So you can do this and connect, and footage of it anytime you want.
Poor Jamie.
Well, I actually have a question about this,
Yeah.
Please.
this topic. This is kind of what I'm going through right now. So I have been following my passions and giving back, and I've had a wonderful year. And I'm kind of at the point where there's several opportunities that I've kind of got my hand in, and I don't know how to navigate priorities, or is it okay to be focused on several different projects, or should I narrow my focus and choose one, or how do you do that? So I know you do so many things, you wear so many hats, so how can people do that at home who may not be working a typical 9-to-5 job anymore?
So for me, the daily activity of taking inventory of my values is so important in the context of every single day. One of the first things I do is, what are my personal values? These non-negotiables of a minimum a day on my health, a minimum of time with my family, a minimum of time studying. And then from there, go to my experiential values just for the day. So every single day I'm taking inventory of, okay, this is what I want to experience. And it could be 5 different businesses, whatever it may be. Then what are my giving values? Where am I going to provide value? And then the receiving values. What do I want to receive today? The key to it is I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. These are my values, and I'm not afraid of being a hypocrite. I'm not afraid of saying, gosh, this is completely different than what I told people 10 years ago. That just means that I've accelerated, I've grown and learned. This is a good thing. What happens is so many people are trying to seek approval, seek what they think, or they're doubting. If you know your values, Jamie Lynn, then you'll be able to prioritize according to your value all the opportunities that avail themselves for that day. And if you change your mind tomorrow, you'll reprioritize and drop some and gain some others. But you'll find that when you stick to your inventory of values, that you'll start attracting more people, more ideas, more opportunities and coincidences that are aligned with those values. And then you can start working as you say, wow, I have all of these different things. Here's how I prioritize them. I wish I had more time. So that's when you start using the 5-20 rule, the efficiencies rule. I look for 4 minutes every single day, by the way. In any situation, I look to see how can I save 4 minutes brushing my teeth, or whatever it may be. Because I know every time I can save 4 minutes with a process or a system or asking for help, it's 24 hours a year.
Yeah.
You guys are tiny young people. You know, only 3 full days of productivity for the rest of your life. For 4 minutes, start seeking 4 minutes.
Let's just, if you're listening to this and you're hearing Dave speak, sometimes these kinds of messages live in the abstract. So like, think about yourself. Think about what is important to you. When he says your value system, like actually take a moment wherever you are right now and like think about what it is motivates you. It doesn't have to be some bullshit bumper sticker thing. Like what motivates you can be anything. You might be something that's totally off the cuff. That's not what myself or Jamie or Dave think. And work through that, like honor that, because that's I think what you're referring to. People look at that and think, oh, I should value these traits that have no real value, they don't mean anything to you, but you just want them to mean something. Don't go that route.
Or
Like,
even people who value money and chasing that. I personally think they're chasing the wrong thing. You know, chase your passion and then I feel like the money will come. But if you're only focused on the money aspect, I don't see how you're going to be happy.
And I think that idea too of chasing your passion confuses people, especially younger people. I say chase your what.
right.
And become passionate about the what. So if you take those values and say, this is what I want, you already know your why. Like Jamie Lynn, you really have alignment and clarity on your why is to be of service and help others. You already know that. Where most people have a problem is, what is it I actually want? If you want to test it, go any one of your friends or family members and say, what do you want to do today? What do you want to eat? Or when you're standing in front of a menu, what are you going to have? Nobody knows what. I know my values so well. I wrote that book, Game Time Decision Making, to help people know how to make a quick decision because I know my values so well that it's very easy for me to continue, which creates more efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success of what's going to make me happy because I've taken an inventory of the beginning of the day. Hey, working out a minimum of an hour a day makes me happy. Like in working out, by the way, I had someone reiterate this. I have a rule, the first 10 minutes suck. So if you can come to an awareness that the first 10 minutes suck, you'll actually be able to be more consistent, which then works on that continuum and helps you grow, accelerate, and receive compound interest, not just financially, but in everything positive you do.
Love that. We're gonna fly through these next ones. We're running out on time here. We have your next guest right over there in the lobby. So we're gonna let's just do like 1 minute responses because I think some of these are really
Or 30 seconds, we'll fly through.
Yeah. So let's just say someone is listening to this and they're struggling in a relationship. There's not respect there. Maybe there's a loss of love, or they're going through a tough time. Maybe it's jealousy. What do you say to that person?
Find the superpower in that person, and also do a distinction of the feeding chain. Do they feed you? Then feed it. If they don't feed you, then allow it to fall away, and then if they bleed you, fire it. And so in the relationship, if you look for the superpowers through understanding and praying for their happiness, don't allow it, and you find that even within the context of the superpowers, they're bleeding you or feeding you, you'll know what to do in the relationship. I myself with my wife, I have 23 years of marriage. I've never been more attracted, more happy, and more excited about my relationship because all the things used to bug the crap out of me when I was young, I have found superpowers and they became things that I adore about her. And I look for the superpowers whenever there's something that bugs me.
I love that answer. I love the fact that you said that if it doesn't feed you, to let it go. That's a very important thing people need to realize. And finding the superpower. Like it worked out for you and your wife, which we're happy for, but it
Yeah.
might not have, you know. And
I'm more happy it worked out for her.
How about, as an aside to this, people who hold on to grudges? I will be the first to admit I struggle with this immensely. I'm a grudge holder. I hate it. I'm self-aware about it. What would you say to people like me, who if you wrong me, I have a very hard time letting go of that?
Yeah, I need to be offended and need to be right and resentful. You need to forgive. And here's what helped me. I don't forgive you because you deserve it. I forgive you because I deserve it. All of that energy is just going to literally kill you. And so you're allowing them to actually win, people who have done bad to you, by continually holding and harboring grudges. Yeah, stop it. Forgiveness is a gift. I've studied the Course in Miracles.
And then if you hold this grudge, they're hurting you
Forever.
over and over
Forever.
again.
That's
And so-
actually a really, really valuable point. I'm like, damn it, I wish I didn't do my personal Okay, this is a two-parter. We're gonna go through this here. If someone is estranged from their immediate family, so not necessarily a spouse, but like a parent, a child, and it weighs on them, what would you say to that person?
Try to understand that person and pray for their happiness if you can't reconcile.
Yeah, so let's just quickly, for 30 seconds, extrapolate on that. You want to reconcile, but the other person is not found forgiveness for you. How do you navigate that?
So believe it or not, forgive yourself. I've had several people, I do a lot of executive coaching. I had one of my clients that had cheated on his wife and she had left, went to the lawyer, and he kept on begging for, I said, stop. You go at home and just say and forgive yourself. The energy itself, pretty soon she'll have nothing but love for you and understanding and forgiveness for you. What you have inside, you will find outside. So forgive yourself in those situations and you'll find the resistance to dissipate and dissolve. So forgive yourself.
That's great.
Love that. Now let's talk about, this is another one here where I actually dealt with this when I was married. I was married very young. And my sister, who's one of my best friends, we're super, super close, and my ex-wife hated each other. There was just conflict. It was very different personalities, and I was constantly stuck in the middle of it. So let's talk about somebody who's in that position, where you are in the middle of two people that you love. How do you navigate that?
Well, number one, love them both, and hopefully coach them both into the same understanding, forgiveness, and praying for their happiness. But you also, it goes to what we're saying, the feeding chain. Some relationships will bleed you. And so you have to fire them from your life. Doesn't mean you can't have a relationship, but I would illuminate what the relationship and the management of the expectations between the two people I love, and then make an agreement that if we can't reconcile this, if your relationship bleeds each other, let's just make sure that we're doing and accommodating this so that I'm happy. So remember, I do things for my mom. The funny thing about my mom is I adore her, obviously,
Right.
but I joke around. She's not my friend. I don't really like her. She doesn't like any things that I like,
Right.
but I adore her and love her. But I promote my mom by honoring her. And so when we can coach our sister or our sister-in-law or our, whoever it is and say, let's honor them. You don't have to agree with them. Don't gotta like them, but honor them will promote yourself.
I love that, man. Last one here, because I know I could talk to you for hours here, is for the person who feels like they don't make enough money in their lives. They're in a job, their job has not been affected by the pandemic, but they just either feel unfulfilled, whether it's career choices or just by lack of money. What would you recommend to that person?
Pay attention and give intention to the money that you want. Money won't buy you happiness, but it'll allow you to shop if you shop for the right things. Don't shop for things you don't need. Don't shop to impress people you don't like. But if you shop for the right things, it will buy you happiness. And if you want more money, then focus in on more money. Don't focus on what you don't have. If you focus in on saying, I don't have enough money, you'll never have enough money. If you focus in on thinking, how can I make money? I'll give you an example. My 10-year-old makes more money than most people because we figured out a way to reverse engineer going to garage sales, and I use his cute little brown eyes, but we show up at the very end. We show up at the beginning, Google which products are worth what, that we know we can sell, so we find something that can sell for $1,000. We go back there to see if it's sold. If it hasn't sold, we know those people don't want to put it in their garage. I have my 10-year-old go, Daddy, I want this. I'm like, well, all we have is $100. And then the nice lady who doesn't want to put it back in her garage anyway is like, yeah, go ahead, you can have it. Sometimes for free, boom, we know it's an instant $1,000. He's 10 years old. That's making money.
Amazing.
That's making money. You need to focus attention and intention on what you want. You're making excuses if you're not making money. If that's what you want, like Jamie Lynn said, it's not going to make you happy, but it'll allow you to shop, and that can make you happy.
I can talk to you all day, and I know we have to cut this a little short here, but we have a little thing on the podcast where we allow all of our guests to basically have the last word. We call it going off brand. You don't have to go off brand because I actually like your brand a lot, but it's important for us to give you the last word, something that you would share with listeners who are dialed in, who believe in what you say. It can be anything you want. It can be I hate olives, like Gary's live last night, or it can be something more substantial, but right now Dave Meltzer is about to go off brand.
There you go. It's very simple. Be kind to your future self. Do good deeds.
I love that. People don't realize the value of being kind to your future self, like the value that comes into that. That was the motivation I had. I used to be fat, by the way, and being kind to the future me was the final push I needed to get in shape. Because I was like, I don't want to be 55 years old and having to go through like an angioplasty or like, you know, a bypass.
Or worse. Yeah.
Exactly, you know. So, dude, thank you so much.
Thank you both so much.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah.
We'll do this again.
We'd love to have you on anytime. Thank you, Jacqueline, for giving me some insight about you. And Dave, thanks for coming on, man.
Anytime. Thank you both.
Bye-bye. Awesome. I want to be